Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wheeler, good chatting with you recently.
Senator?
Looks like the broadcast incentive auction will consume a lot of your time during your term without much of a question. Yes. Part of that process, not only does it support innovation, creativity, not only is it going to be a part of the future engine of our country economically, there seems to be some concerns back at home in South Carolina as it relates to the repacking process. And so two questions. One would be, could you discuss with me how you would anticipate allocating the repacking funds provided by the legislation? I think it's about $1.75 billion or so. And how would you anticipate handling the low-power TV stations in the repacking process?
Thank you, Senator. And I cannot give you a specific example, a specific response to that. And I hope you can sense my frustration as to why I can't, because I really have not been able to look beyond the public record on this issue. However, I mentioned to Senator Thune earlier on that this hearing, this proceeding in the auction is like a Rubik's Cube, where you've got to provide, on this side of the cube, you've got to provide incentive sufficient for broadcasters to want to bring their spectrum to market. And then you've got to organize it in a way that makes it valuable so that whoever is bidding wants to bid on it. And the glue that is in the middle, the grease and the glue, if you will, that's in the middle, is how you do the band plan and how you decide how this works. And so it is, I agree with you, sir, it is crucial. I also know from my experience on the digital television transition the incredible importance and the responsibility that exists to somebody who perhaps may be a regulator on how service areas and band plans are allocated or are decided as you work through this band plan. And one of the big challenges that existed in digital television transition was, how do you make sure that you have similar coverage areas and all of these kinds of things? I believe it is possible to find the right solution. It is not easy. I wish I could give you the specific answer. I don't know what it is, but I do have the experience to say that I know it's possible to reach that.
Thank you. On the one of the things the current commission is wrestling with is whether or not to weaken its broadcast decency standards. And this is going to be an ongoing debate. It seems the public is engaged pretty intensely in the debate as well, with over 100,000 responses from the public. I know that the last time the decency enforcement standard was considered back in 2004, it took about 8 years for them to come to a decision by the Supreme Court. My question to you is, as Chairman, where would you take the broadcast decency policy?
Thank you, Senator. That's a very relevant question. As you heard me say early on when I was introducing my family, I've got 3 brand new grandkids. I'm old enough so when I see some things to kind of grit my teeth and say, is this what I want my grandkids to be seeing? Whether it be violence or obscenity or indecency or whatever. At the same point in time, as you point out, the courts have been pretty specific and restrictive. I do believe, however, that it is possible to call upon our better angels with some leadership. I remember Newton Minow talking about television as the vast wasteland. He did that without regulatory authority. It caught the public's attention. Maybe it's possible to do the same kind of thing today and say, can't we do better?
like your optimism, at least. Not sure I share it, but I like it. Let me ask you a question about IP transition, since it's obviously coming.
Right.
And I think in 2011, you chaired or you were part of the advisory committee.
Right.
And certainly the industry has gone a long way in making the necessary investments in the capital to help us shape the future. How do you envision the transition taking shape, and do you believe a sunset of the legacy copper network is still possible by 2018?
So I was the chairman of the committee that started the ball rolling.
Exactly. God bless your soul.
And I think that there are a couple of things. One is it's going to happen with or without us. The question is, how do we mitigate the impact of it? Because we've all lived through other transitions. We lived through the broadcast to cable transition. We lived through the wireline to wireless transition, and there were bumps along the road in all of it. I think that what the Commission can do, and if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, I hope that we will be able to lay out, is some kind of stratagem that says that we have to progress through this with some kind of planned structure rather than it growing like Topsy and just happening here and happening there, and one person tries this, and because that's what causes the dislocations. That's what causes the harm to consumers. That's what causes the disincentive to invest. And so I'm hopeful that we will be able to address the broad spectrum of issues associated with the IP transition in a collective and logical way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Cantwell.